Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the regular meeting of the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission, for June 24th, 2013. And my name is Andre Pitchley. I'm the interim Parks and Recreation Director. I'm starting the meeting because we have a new slate of commissioners that will need to be sworn in. Anyone wishing to address the commission should fill out the request to speak form and present it to the clerk prior to the completion of any staff presentations. With that, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight will be led by Scott Stanley. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, liberty. And I'm going to ask for the clerk to do the roll call.
Commissioner Hayes? Here. Commissioner Clower?
Here.
Commissioner Kloss?
Here.
Commissioner Seals? And Commissioner Skoglund?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Of course, the title of commissioner was merely honorary, and now we're going to make it official, and we will do the oath of allegiance for public officers.
Hello. If you could please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, John Scott,
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
with obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
for purpose of evasion,
and that I will and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
duties in which I am
I'm
about
about
to
to enter.
Thank you. Please take a seat.
Congratulations, commissioners. And at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Commissioner Clower.
Good evening. We are at I-1C, which is the election of the chair.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Commissioner Clower, if we may, could we go to 1B and just do an introduction? And what would
Absolutely.
be helpful is just a little bit about each commissioner. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're on the commission.
Shelley, we'll go first.
My name is Shelley, and my background is in public history. Commission, just because I do have a love of public history and a love of educating the public about our local, our regional history, our state history through non-traditional ways.
My name is John Skoglund. I've been a resident of West Sacramento for a little over 5 years now. I work in the State Assembly for Assemblymember Holly Mitchell, where I'm a legislative aide for her. I also have staffed the Arts and Entertainment Commission for the State Assembly. So I've had a natural love throughout all my education and career with history, arts. So I'm very excited to be able to serve.
He's probably got a bigger budget than we do. And John?
I'm John Kloss. I'm a college instructor at American River College, and I've been a career cartoonist, much of which, because it's a government town, has been in editorial cartooning. So the crossover to public issues is not a big reach for me. So I find myself concerned about the social affairs like today. Thank you.
And I'm Gail Clower. I work for Yolo County Supervisor Mike McGowan, who is the supervisor for the 1st District in West Sacramento, Clarksburg. And I have been on this commission since its inception in about 8 or 9 years. We're not. And we have done some good things, and we've sort of hit a slow period because of the economy, but I am hopeful that that is going to change soon. And we welcome all of you this evening. And so now we can start with the election of officers. I'll entertain a motion for, or chair, not a motion for, a nomination for chair.
I nominate Gail Clower for chair.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? None. Hearing none. We're good. Okay, election of vice chair. I could nominate Denise Seals to continue as vice chair for this commission.
I second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Commission communications. Does anybody have anything to share at this point? Presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda. Anybody have anything that's not on our agenda? No? Okay, and then presentation by the public. Oh, minutes. Does anybody have any correction to the minutes? Can I, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes
I'll move
as
it.
written.
I'll move the minutes.
So moved. May I have a second? And a second by John Kloss? We're going to have to not just say John, huh? All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, historic Washington District presentation by John Freeman. Welcome, Mr. Freeman.
Hello. Historic preservation. My name is,
There we go.
hello, my name is John Freeman, and I want to say hello to the Arts, Cultural, and Historic Preservation Commission. I'm here tonight to present the Historic Washington District, which is going to be a vision. It's an idea, a concept, and a vision. And you could go to the next slide, please. The town of Washington was established by Mary McDowell in 1849, and that was like during the gold rush era, so it's very historic. Over the years, the town got renamed to Broderick because of U.S. Senator Broderick, and also during that same original time period, the Washington Public School District was established in 1856, and it's still part of West Sacramento today. Okay, next slide, please. The goal and the mission to basically brand the Washington neighborhood as the historic Washington District is to like collaborate and facilitate a vision of the neighborhood with all the stakeholders, to move forward a cohesive Washington community, you know, the concept that incorporates the new and the future with the old as well, to plan a future working together with the stakeholders, and to get the city and all other stakeholders involved. Okay, next slide, please. Now, if you're not familiar with the Washington-specific plan, this is a map that shows what currently is on the borders that they consider the Washington area. The borders are the Sacramento River, the Rayleigh's Field, West Capitol, and then like 5th, 6th Street, and then to the south, to the north would be the Broderick Boat Ramp. Okay, next slide, please. This is the original town plot. What Mary McDowell had plotted out her 160 acres and with the survey, and then this was established so she could sell lots. Next slide, please. I'm interested in branding the Washington neighborhood so that we could get more development in there, so that people that drive into the neighborhood will understand that this is a very historic neighborhood. Getting the West Sacramento and on board, getting other neighborhood organizations like VBCAN and Historic Society, which a lot of the members are here tonight. Go ahead with the next slide, please. These are some of the homes that are currently restored and in the Washington neighborhood. This is a home on 3rd Street, and that's a business that's been doing work in the West Sacramento, Washington neighborhood for a very long time. Next slide, please. These are more Victorian row, what they call Victorian row homes on 3rd Street, and currently in the Washington specific plan, there are about 6 or 7, there's like 2-block radius of historic homes. Well, go ahead with the next slide. Those are just photos of stuff that's currently in the Washington neighborhood. This is another Victorian home on 3rd Street. The marker, there's a picture or photo of the marker that West Sacramento put in. It says West Sacramento, and at the bottom it says Washington. Next slide, please. Now, I wanted to include in this presentation some examples of what the Washington neighborhood could possibly be in the future. This is what Sacramento has done. They have a historic R Street area, and that's just a sign of it. I mean, it gives you you get a sense that you're entering into something really interesting and somewhere you want to be and somewhere where you want to work and shop and live and all of that kind of thing. Okay, next slide, please. Another example is the Alkali Flats, which is the oldest existing neighborhood in Sacramento. And go ahead with the next slide. And these are some of the markings. Oh, that one's a little dark, but they've got the Alkali Flats light rail station, a big marking that lets you know you're in Alkali Flats. There's another designation when you come into the community. It's a marker that says Alkali Flats. I'm sorry that photo's a little dark. Go ahead with the next slide, please. And a concept that I think would be great in the Washington neighborhood if we branded it as Historic Washington District is the signages on the light post and on the street signs. That would give an indication like where you are, that you're in a historic neighborhood. Okay, next slide, please. These are some of the home. That's a home in Alkali Flats, and that's another street sign that says Alkali Flats. Next slide, please. The West Sacramento Historic Society has already obtained on the National Historic Register. They've already obtained status for the Washington Fire Department, which is a 1930s Art Deco. It's on 3rd Street at C. And also, they've obtained on the National Register the California, I'm a little nervous. The West Sacramento Historical Society's also obtained onto the National Register, National Historic Preservation Registry, First Pacific Coast Salmon Cannery site, which is up in the Riverwalk Park. And so what I'm also suggesting for the community is that the community be labeled if it could be something that would be positive, not detrimental, that they identify an area and call it, historic Washington District. Next slide, please. This is the West Sacramento Historical Society that's been doing work for many years in the community, and they have a facility across the street in the community center, and that's a picture of some of the stuff that they have at their center, like the map and just the signages outside the gallery. Next slide, please. This is a pointed destination, the Riverwalk Park along the river. And I've included slides there because they've already have a memorial. There's memorials all over, well, there's a few memorials of historic sites in the Washington area. This is one of them. And this would be like a pointed destination of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. There's a commemorative site plaque, if you see at the very bottom, left-hand side of the slide, at Metro Place at Washington Square. It's a residential development that mixes the old with the new. That plaque is there because that's the site of the first first public school district, and the first school in Yolo County. And it's still part of, West Sacramento. It's still considered, Washington School District is still a part of West Sacramento today. Okay, next slide. These are some action steps that we could possibly take. Enhance the community facilities, because there's not a whole lot there. We still have a few blighted lots and, not a lot of amenities and whatnot. And like incorporating the old with the new. I'm not suggesting that we keep every single historic building, because obviously we don't have that many anymore. But what I'm suggesting is that we have a cohesive vision that incorporates the old with the new. We have a branding of the neighborhood that will have more of a vision for it, and we bring development in, and we can maybe even suggest that they have that same vision, but I don't know, that's like too technical for me. The Riverwalk is, like I said, a destination. We're gonna have the Indian Heritage Museum. That's gonna be a destination, and promoting the streetcars. Maybe one day a streetcar will come into that neighborhood. Next slide, please. So collaborating with West Sacramento Arts, Cultural, and Historic Commission, West Sacramento Historic Society, businesses, developers, residents to forward the historic Washington District, the vision of it. Working with already organizations that are already in the community, like Bright Broderick, Action Network, Community Action Network, and the West Sacramento Historical Society to move the vision forward. Next slide, please. And okay, so the conclusion of this presentation is that we want to have a clear focus on the strategic goals of the Washington District to move forward the vision and the concept of a cohesive Washington District to plan and build historic Washington District. And I want to add one more thing that I might have missed when I was going through the slides, is that there's already a Washington-specific strategic plan. The original was in 1989. It's been updated, and I think the city of West Sacramento is currently working on parts of it now. Well, I think that if the council adopts this kind of proposal, that some of this information or some of the vision can be incorporated into the specific plan, Washington-specific plan. So I thank you for your time. Oh, let's see, is there one more slide, or I think that's it? Okay, this is just some of the documentation that I used. And if anybody wants a copy of this slideshow, it's a PDF, and I can leave my cards on the counter, and people can email me and request it, and I'll email it right back to them. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Do you have any questions or comments, Commissioner?
I have a comment. First off, I like your name, John. It's a good name. And don't worry about being nervous. This is my first time up here, too. I want to say I like the idea. I definitely like the idea. I've spent a lot of time around the R Street area. I work near that area. It's a beautiful area that they're working on and building, especially right around R and 15th, where they've done a wonderful job rehabbing those areas. And I think this is it would be a great opportunity to be able to bring out the history of West Sacramento and get people involved. I mean, it's right there by what's going to be the new bridge district, and right there near the Riverwalk. I think this is great, and I appreciate you coming out here to show us, and you did a good job.
Thank you.
John, are you consulting, when you said you were going back into the archives and things, looking at photos to see what, as the development goes in, what might be reconstructed to build the past? Because there's a lot going to be developed, but we might be ignoring the past if we don't look at how it was done on the waterfront, for example.
Exactly. My understanding is Woodland, the Woodland, Maine County Archives Office has a lot of the documentation, a lot of the photos and all of that stuff, so we could work from some of that. Also, the city has a inventory catalog of everything that it's part of what's being updated now.
A lot of it's gone, but a lot of it is, there's still some there that should be
Yeah,
preserved. I'm glad you brought this forward. Have you spent much time with the Historical Society with this, in this regard, talking to them about what they have or don't have? Or
I've had 1 or 2 meetings with them, and I'm familiar with my main contact was Charlotte Darcy and some of the other members. That's the reason why a lot of them are here tonight, is because I've communicated with them. They were familiar with the presentation. I am willing to put as much work in as necessary. I'm an invested resident here in West Sacramento, live in the Washington district. I just wanted to do like a preliminary overview to see what, the concepts, and maybe move it forward if it's accepted, or there needs to be more work on it.
I think it's certainly under our purview, and we may need to do a subcommittee or something to look further at this idea. There's so many pieces to this. Funding, do these people really want to be under historical designation that may or may not inhibit what they can and cannot do with their properties? And so there are a lot of moving parts to this idea.
May I say one thing, please?
Yes.
Actually, there's I may not have conveyed this, but there's really 2 ways you could go with this concept. And the way I'm really thinking that's less cumbersome is that my idea would be on 3rd Street and on parts of 3rd Street and parts of C Street, which are the 2 main avenues inside of the Washington neighborhood, to put up some banners on the light post or something, just to identify when residents and visitors are driving through the neighborhood, that they can see that they're actually in a historic district. I mean, that it doesn't require that we go back and...
Yeah. Well, that's a good idea. Then there's funding. I think a subcommittee is a good idea for this. And we don't need to staff subcommittees, do we? Or do we?
At this time, it might be best to let staff go back and talk with some folks in community development who are working on the Washington specific plan update, and see where this fits in, because this may be a valuable piece for that. As to funding, I couldn't speak to where we would be on any of that.
Sure, of course.
We do have a staff member here who probably could speak to this, and that would be Mr. Jim Bermudez.
Okay. Please, join us.
Good evening. My name is Jim Bermudez. I'm a senior planner in community development with the city of West Sacramento. Don't know how much time you got, but let me kind of back up a little bit. Mr. Freeman accurately described there is a Washington-specific plan. Within that specific plan, it is rather outdated, but it gets the job done, as we can see out in the Washington district. The thought is that we need to do some refinement and some amendments to the Washington-specific plan to look at some of these kind of key sensitive issues that have emerged with development taking place in the 2000s and then planning ahead. So luckily, the city was able to receive a grant from the Housing and Urban Development. And one thing I would say is in the photos of the R Street, everything that you saw in those photos, believe it or not, was done with grant funding. Really, the city didn't contribute much unless it was some kind of match. So what we're talking about here is, implementation of some concepts, ideas, and those really are predicated on securing grant funding. So
Sure.
this is kind of the battle that we deal with when we're looking at this type of subject, but it's well worth it. So the city received this HUD grant, and it was a $400,000 grant with a $350,000 city match, so $750,000. And it's specifically for the Washington community in the specific plan area, as was pointed out by Mr. Freeman, that area. Within that HUD grant, there's roughly about 7 elements that planning staff, engineering, parks, everybody kind of that has a little angle and snippet production that they need to do is looking at various things to improve on the plan. And essentially, the plan is a planning document. We're not going to replan the plan, and the staff has met with the mayor. We've had a couple of hearings, and, I guess the best phrase to use is we're planning to implement. That's where we're going with this. We want to tee things up out in that area so we can see development, so we can see some of these ideas come forward that Mr. Freeman presented tonight. So in doing so, what we have to do is complete various elements. There's a transportation component, there's an infrastructure component, and there was a little sprinkling, I should say, for neighborhood preservation analysis. It's roughly about $25,000. It's not that much, but in the context of doing an infrastructure analysis, which is the key out in that area, I don't need to say to you, but during the development heyday, a lot of times people plan to do some of these development projects, and then when they got to infrastructure, they were in for a great sticker shock. So we want to do, some heavy-duty lifting, and the bulk of the grant will go towards the infrastructure. But as I mentioned, there is a portion that will go into neighborhood preservation.
Does that come under our purview?
I'll get there. Yes, it does as an advisory role, and it's staff's intent to bring the effort that we end up producing back to your group as an advisory and have you take a look at it. What I should say is that we were awarded a grant, I believe, in 2012, and it's a 3-year grant. So we're kind of getting close to the halfway point of that grant, and I will, be honest, we are tracking a little bit behind. It's just related to staffing and priorities. So some of the analysis and some of the details of the tasks that were needed to be complete maybe 4 months ago still haven't gone on our way, but we're making an effort. So the purpose of the grant, and specifically for that topic of neighborhood preservation, is to look at the context of the specific plan and say, okay, this is where we're at within the plan. What can we do to improve? What are some of the key areas of focus? What do we need to target moving forward to make a better plan as it relates to historic preservation? The concepts and some of the ideas that Mr. Freeman mentioned tonight, those are very, on the radar of staff. I think the most, challenging one will be, and I think you touched on that, is if we were to go full bore and try to do some district and really get into a regulatory program of some sort. I can probably sit here and tell you that I don't think that's going to be kind of the direction of the council. I don't think, I don't know you that well, but it doesn't seem that's where we want to go. But we do want to take a snapshot of that district today, and we want to preserve. It's a preservation analysis, and I think that's key. I'm not saying, I think I'll be the first to admit that the Washington specific plan really didn't do that much to preserve that context from, was it 1996 to today. So we want to tighten that down, and I have already met with the Historic Society maybe about a month ago or 3 weeks ago to talk about their role in this process. One thing that has been allocated as via the grant is some portion of funding to tap into what they call sub-grantees. The Historic Society is a group, the BB Can is a group, and a couple of other groups. And the purpose to bring in the Historic Society, and Mr. Freeman made reference to the Yellow County survey. That survey is way, way old, probably born, it predates me, my birth date, but it's very old. It's a good utility for this time, and I think it's a good snapshot of back when it was produced to do some comparison. So the goal and effort of bringing in, one of the goals for bringing in the Historic Society and BB Can is to tap into the resources to do some surveying of the vacant land that's out there and basically inventory that whole district. It's a grand endeavor. They're going to utilize some of the youth groups that are out in the city. There's a certain amount of funding dedicated to do this, so people will get paid to do it. I think this will be a great thing to do during the summer, and we're trying to tee that up to get it going. In addition, in my meeting with the Historic Society, we did talk about some of these ideas and concepts that were brought up today, and we were pretty impressed with kind of where some of the concepts, impressed with some of the things that we heard, and some of them I think will find their way into the plan and into this update and make their way. I think, you know, as I conclude, just to say that I think the span of what gets included is to be determined, but I do have to point out that I think, you know, the safe bet is to say that are we headed towards, you know, historic district. I used to work in Folsom. I know about historic districts. They're very regulatory. I don't think we're going there, but we're going to go somewhere where definitely
More place name.
exactly where it's preservation, where it's about placemaking, it's about wayfinding. They had a great idea that they came up about linking landmarks to like an app or something like that, where people going around a district can, you know, learn about, you know, by plugging into an app and you see that marker and you learn a little more. That, to me, that's pretty cool, and I think we'll kind of head in that direction. So there's some work to do, and that's kind of the plan in the next probably year and a half is the goal to kind of roll this out. It'll get all bundled with the whole all the other elements of the grant, but on a piece-by-piece basis, we will bring it to those advisory groups for your comments and questions and suggestions as we move forward.
Remember that we are the council-appointed
Absolutely.
preservation group, and this is the first we've heard about it, and it sounds like everybody else has heard about it already. So we would want to be, at least have a working knowledge of what's going on this deal. And I have a concern that we haven't heard anything yet. I'm glad that you're doing this, but I think we need to find a way to be more involved in this work. Ones that are going to ultimately involve, you know, and advise the council on what's going on what we think should happen. Not that the council, you know, going to do what we say ever, but at least they're going to be, they're going to hear what we have to say.
Absolutely.
And we do now have Shelley, who I think will be very helpful. She has, oh, thank you. She has an interest and a master's degree in public history. And I think maybe, would you be willing to work with the planning department on this?
Yeah,
Just to kind
I
of-
definitely would. I'm
to
very
go,
interested
to
in
go
this.
to the citizens meetings, to go to the meetings where you're doing this stuff, so that you can report back to us, so you're not having to come in every quarter and tell us what you did last quarter.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Okay. Can we do that? Do we need to do anything other than just say that?
I think at this time it might be best for Mr. Bermudez to let us know when these meetings are taking place. We can communicate. He can communicate that to the department, and we can certainly let the commission know.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Sure,
taking
you're
the time
welcome.
to come in and let us know about this.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you, John, for bringing it forward. It'll be interesting to watch. Item 4, preservation on.
Excuse me, Commissioner Clausen, we did have a public comment that was turned in there. There were two.
Is that on the, John's presentation. Christine Amy.
Good evening, members of the Commission, and congratulations on your new appointments. This is an exciting subject for me, and I've been very excited for John. He's been relentlessly passionate about putting this forward. I'm a resident of West Sacramento, the Washington District also, and no one has mentioned yet, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I think in the long run this will bring income into our community. If we have a place that people visiting our town can come see, because a lot of people that are traveling want to go to historical districts. They want to know about towns. And we've got really not a lot to show them, but there is a lot there. And there's a lot that we can rejuvenate and we can put back into the area and have something that we can be proud of and something that we can show. And we could certainly use some new blood and some revitalization in our neighborhood. And we greatly appreciate you embracing this as well. Thank you.
And Lana Paul-Hamas. Commissioner.
Good evening, Commissioners, and congratulations for your appointments. I'm coming in as a member of the West Sac Historical Society, and I applaud John Freeman to taking the initiative and volunteering to do the research on such an important part for West Sacramento. One of the things we need to consider as we move forward here is our footprint in the region. Right now, across the river, there are a lot of plans being committed very close to where we are. A new bridge is being planned, an arena, and all of that, I feel, is going to have a direct impact onto the River District in West Sacramento. And unless we do something to control what goes on our side of the river, we could possibly be engulfed with a lot of overflow from what's going on in Sacramento, especially if that arena is built in the Sacramento downtown. I think that this is an important part of our history as a community and as a city, to preserve our history, and that is one of the oldest places in West Sacramento, and every effort should be taken to try to get this issue moving forward. And again, we really thank John Freeman for his work and what he did. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? Item 4, presentation on a Cats on Parade public art campaign. Ms. Nielsen?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Agnes Nielsen, the president of the West Sacramento Art Guild. Thank you for letting me come here tonight and talk about my project. The West Sacramento Art Guild has been has been active here in the West Sacramento area for about 50 years. We've been supporting the local high schools through the art shows and scholarships through most of those years, and our members have been award winners through the state and the county and the local fairs that we've had, the neighborhood fairs, and then we've had displays here at the library and everywhere. The talents of our local artists are impressive and varied. We'd also like to use these talents on large cats through the city, and also have local artists within our area. We think the advantage of doing this kind of project of these large cats would be a positive way to showcase our city. I've seen examples of these kinds of projects in other cities, and the positive and favorable publicity that they've brought. It's brought a lot of community interaction, and with the river cats here in West Sac, that would be a good theme to tie them all in. We would like to give the cats to our artist in January of 2014 and put them on display in early April. And then we'd like to have an auction at the end of that, someplace like Rayleigh Fields or another location at the end of April, or another workable timetable. And the cats will be about 5 feet tall, and there will be about 25 of them.
Wow.
A lot of them.
How tall? They're 5 feet tall. Are they standing, sitting?
They're going to be sitting cats. The locations we're considering are like West Capitol Avenue from Rayleigh's down to City Hall, and then at the Southtown City Center Plaza and the IKEA Shopping Center. And then we're coming to the commission for help in a search for the local artists, like you did for the for the photography thing, and so who live, work, or worship in here. Also help in advertising this whole project and getting businesses and individuals who and civic organizations to help us sponsor the cost of obtaining the cats, and then to help in auctioning the sponsors, auctioning afterwards at the end of the project. We also need a loading dock and someone to receive the shipment. And in Chicago, they had cows on parade. So I found this in a Sacramento shop. And so their cows on parade were like this. And so they all had, I have a friend that was from Chicago, and she said they almost had as much fun naming them as they did decorating them. So I don't know what the name of this one is, but I like blue and white ceramics, so I bought this one. And so at the end, it actually says Cows Parade Holding Corporation. So whatever the people want to decorate them as. So far, I found a company that manufactures them, the actual forms in the Chicago area, who's done over 450 of these city art projects. They worked closely with these cities and have a booklet that they give to their clients, and they help them go through step by step so they can organize and complete a successful event. They've given me an estimate of a per cat cost of about $16.50. So I don't know if I can find a lower price or not. So far, I have not been able to find a local company, but if anyone can tell me where I can find another one, I've looked in the phone book, and so far, no success. Their website provided several images of a cat, and I found, I didn't bring it up here. I found a sitting one, and so I figured that would be about the easiest one that wouldn't be, people couldn't climb up on it or anything like that, and it'd be easy to secure to like a wagon or something, so they could be brought in and out to businesses at night, brought out the next day and tied to a lamppost or a tree or something like that. And that way it would be nice, easy to decorate or something. So we of the West Sacramento Art Guild are coming to you for ideas and support in getting this ambitious city art project off the ground. We are hoping that you partner with us in working out all the details. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Lots. The cost is $16.50 each for 25 of them.
25 cats, yeah. There's like $5,300 for them to make the cast, and then there's approximately $1,300, but it might be less per cat for them to cast each one of the cats. And there's $1,000 for them to transport all of them here.
Each?
No, total.
So 25 for a K-buck?
What?
25 cats for $1,000?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty good.
Well, she gave me 800 to 1,000, and so I think I'm thinking 1,000, but I'm not. She didn't give me a final thing, so around. So I'm guessing that it's going to be. She gave me an estimate, so I didn't get a final word, but I'm just guessing. So that'd be about $40 a cat. So I divided that by 25.
Let me turn this over to my fellow commissioners to start the real questions.
Yeah, would you mind running through the timeline with me one more time?
We get the cats, give them to the artist around beginning of January of 2014, and then we'd have them decorate them and put them on display beginning of April, have them out for about a month, and at the end of April, beginning of May, we have an auction,
Okay.
and then they get sold.
Okay. And because I'm familiar with the other programs that other cities have had.
the cities,
And I know that they're widely
Popular.
popular. People love them. So, especially
And that would
I guess
also
since we
bring
talked
people
about
to
bringing
visit
in,
us.
tourists into the city. So I'm wondering if a month is really, a good amount of time, especially
Yeah, and
since
I don't
you're
know if a
looking
month
at-
is enough or not.
Yeah.
So I'm open to more time,
Okay. And then also you did indicate that they were going to be auctioned off at the end. Now, who's going to be the beneficiary of the auction?
I'm
Has that
thinking
been-
of West Sacramento Art Guild because we do the scholarships and stuff, and we've been working on a shoestring for all these years. So I thought we would be able to work on a better basis this way.
Okay.
But if there comes in a whole bunch, then we guess we could work on with more. But
Okay. And then one last question. I was a history major, not a math major. Could you tell me about what you're anticipating for just the cost for all 25 in one sum? Could you?
I don't have a calculator, and I didn't do that far.
Okay.
I was working enough with 1650.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was-
I did the calculation, it's $41,000.
Great. Okay.
And then you mentioned 1,000 for shipping, so
the
42,000.
1650 included the.
Is that included? Okay, so 41,000.
41,000. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay,
Don't go away.
don't go away.
We've got questions, I'm sure. John?
So are we talking about house cats or tigers or lions or what was that?
House cats.
So we're going to do a series of house cats, okay.
We could do any cats. They said they would form whatever kind they had. We wanted. If we showed them another kind of cat, but I just saw one on the thing that I liked.
Okay. What are we talking about for weight? My only thought on this is that, you mentioned business owners or whomever having to move these around. I think this is a fun idea. I know how popular the baseball people are outside in front of City Hall. Everybody and their brother goes out there to take a picture with them. So I can envision this being a similar type of thing. My concern would be, number one, theft. People trying to pick it up, to steal it, do whatever with it. And number two, vandalism of them is the only other concern I have.
I was thinking of, they said that we had to put them on like a little wagon type of thing with wheels that they dragged in and out every night to the businesses. So I would think that they would be too heavy. Fiberglass isn't all that heavy. And so I would think 5 feet tall, I would think 50 pounds to 75 pounds. I'm just roughly guessing because I've worked with fiberglass before. And it's not really, it's strong and sturdy, but it's not heavy. They didn't give me a weight yet because we didn't get that far into our calculations yet.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I was just curious. I want to make sure that, we don't have people out there. The number of fiberglass, I mean, it's strong, but you get someone big like me on there, and it might cause some damage to it. So I just want to make sure.
it's something that you can tie to they said we could tie it to a lamppost.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that somebody, could be watching it sort of from a store, that type of thing.
And it's just finding the stakeholders who are willing to be able to babysit the cats outside.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I think it's a fun idea.
Yeah. I think if we have enough eyes on in the city watching these things, that it might be doable.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John, questions?
You have a picture of the cats? And where did you say you got your favorite cat?
It's called
You just pass it to it. We'll pass it along and then
yeah.
we can
What's the
submit
name
it.
of the company, Diane? Cow Painters Incorporated.
Is that whose cat is that? Is that copyrighted?
It was their company company icon, or company thing that
They
they had on
provided.
their ice, on their thing, that was one of the one of their statues that you could use.
You could use.
So they make a business of doing
It's a
this,
business
correct?
one.
So they
Yeah.
must have some.
It was on their website. It was one of the
Is-
cats that you could use.
Is there a license fee or something for that? No.
Once you used your thing, that was one of the things that you could use.
Would the guild be prepared to come up with its own cat if you wanted to change it a little bit?
We could come up with anything that we wanted, if we wanted. You know, they said they could make any cast that we wanted, if we wanted to design our own cat.
Which might be kind of good.
It might be nice.
This is
yeah.
a long-haired cat. Maybe
We've got-
Something
we've
a
got
little
lots of
more
artists.
cat-like.
We got
Yeah,
lots of
something a
artists
little
now.
more wild if river cats, where did the idea of river cats come from? And
We
are they
can't use the
wild?
river cats, I know that.
Is that copyrighted?
That's
river
copyrighted.
cats? It is.
That's a copyrighted cat.
But we might be able to,
No,
well, we
I'm-
probably don't need to do that cat, but we could do
Yes,
something
not
that's
that
a little
cat.
more.
a
The
cat.
phrase river cats is not copyrighted. What you're saying is the
We could
logo
use
on
a
the
river cat.
stadium is.
We could use a wildcat, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea what kind of cat we could use.
Because what the cat is doing, it's sort of, sort of porcelain thing looking at the heavens and thinking, what's the meaning of that exactly? That we like cats, but is there something
I just didn't
Sacramento
want
about it,
something that
West
somebody
Sacramento?
could climb onto or, cause trouble.
Well, didn't Sacramento City have cows a few years ago?
Elk Grove, 10 years ago, it had elks. I know that much. And so they were looking stuff up, but it was not in their thing. It was in storage. So they were looking them up for me, but they haven't gotten back to me yet. So that was the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, this could be very fun. $41,000 would blow what little money we have in art.
Well, I plan on having sponsors help us.
Perfect.
I wouldn't want, I'm asking for help in publicizing it, and maybe a local, finding artist and a loading dock, basically, because I don't have those kind of things. We can find, we've got artists, of course, in the Art Guild, and I need 25 artists altogether. I'm not sure how many I've got in the guild that really want to take on a project,
Participate, yeah.
but we have a variety of us. And then how many more artists that I need.
So your artists would be donating their
Their time and
Their
talent.
art.
Right. And then they'd be put, and then
and then you guys would be putting it up for.
yeah. Then we need to find someone that would make the little trailers. I don't know how much the trailers would be cost to make. So we need to find someone to build those and the cost of the little trailers. I would think that the trailers would cost $100 to $150 each at the most, and maybe that would be added into from the sponsor's part. But I don't think that would be too terribly much more for the expenses.
I've got a question. Do you have any sculptors in the guild? So if you have to go back to clay for this
Clay
cat
sculptures
image.
in the guild. Andrew, you're my sculptor at the most. Andrew?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't think it has
sculpting.
to be fiberglass, but with wood or something.
Andre, she's
We've got a sculpture there. He's done with the wood that got from the tree that got cut down. He's done some nice sculpturing there. So there's possible of getting one. So anyway, that's where we are from
quite a
that.
concept.
So anyway,
It might be
I'm willing to head it and get our group to back us up.
Well, we could refer this to staff to look and see if this is a possibility for.
We can certainly help with some of the things that that have been mentioned. At this point, though, we would just wait to see the Art Guild move forward on this project. Yeah, so I think when they're ready to move, they should come back and talk to us.
And Mickey Fawcett would also like to comment on the cats. Good evening.
Hello, my name's Mickey Fawcett, longtime resident of West Sac, Broderick, Washington, whatever you want to call it. And congratulations on the new commissioners. Getting back to the cat, I was so glad when John he asked specifically what kind of a cat we talking about, because there's only one cat, and it's a wild cat. It's the river cat. And we have, historically here in West Sacramento, we had a high school over here. It was called James Marshall High School Wildcats. There's a picture. I have a T-shirt that has a picture of the cat on that, the wild cat. You can have my picture. You wouldn't have to worry about copyrights or anything like that. I just had to bring that up to make sure you're aware of that. That there is it's a beautiful cat, wild cat's face, and maybe work from that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on this subject? Okay. Consideration of Resolution 1303, setting a time and date for the regular 2013 meetings of the Art, Culture, and Historical Preservation Commission.
Madam Chair, this is normally what we do at the start of every commission year is to make sure that that the commission's satisfied with the meeting date and time. We meet quarterly, so it's really just something where we need you to go ahead and have a discussion, make a motion, and approve the date and time or change it.
Is there any room for change on this deal? Or you guys, staff's pretty spread thin.
It really kind of depends on the council calendar when this room is being used. It seems that the first Monday, or the last Monday of the month, I think is what it is, has worked out really well for timing with other meetings that are happening throughout the course of the month.
Discussion?
Meeting's good.
I think we're good.
So if you would go ahead and make a motion and second and
Call for a
approve.
motion?
A second.
We got to have a motion first.
Oh, I so move to keep the dates that they have proposed.
Second.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none? We're good.
Thank you.
And number 6, Annual Community Center Arts Programming Review. Mr. Stanley.
Madam Chair, we've now had a community center that's been open for 2 years. Mr. Stanley here has been kind of the lead for the department when it comes to fine and performing arts, and we're looking forward to this presentation.
He just said it all. I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Scott Stanley, as I know most of you guys. Nice to meet you, Shelley. And I'm a recreation supervisor here at the Parks and Recreation Department. And as Andre mentioned, I do help oversee the operations of the community center and mostly the things that are involved with the arts. We do lots and lots of different things there, as you guys probably already know. But I'm here tonight to speak specifically to the arts and as it affects and is going on in the community center itself. So I'll give you just a little brief background on what we've done in the past year, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we're looking to do in the year to come. And I'll kind of break it down by different parts of the building. So we'll start with the Black Box Theater. If you haven't been over there to see it, happy to give anybody a tour anytime. It's a great little theater. It's a multi-use space. We've had a variety of events in there, arts related and un-art related, and which include a concert, several concerts, blues concerts. We had a Rockin' for Life concert. We've had the Fire Fest concert, where it's a bunch of different bands that come in all at one time. We had a slack key guitarist come over from Hawaii and do a performance for us. Well, he was not just for us, but he did a performance while he was here. It was wonderful. We've also hosted things like fashion shows, Zumba glow parties, all ages, get all the kids in there dancing, having a good time. Through partnerships with Sacramento State students and their Recreation and Leisure Services program, correct? We've been able to do events. We've helped host events like the second Saturday Art Walk, where the whole building was taken over by these two students and their idea, and it was all arts related. So we had performance arts and music and multiple floors, and we had 2D art and on display, and we even had a flaming monkey, which was pretty cool. It was a sculpture of a monkey that actually shot fire. That was pretty cool. More specifically, too, about the theater as a theater, we recently had a run of Avenue Q, which is a Tony Award-winning Broadway play. It was very successful. They packed the house and then some. They were adding seats as the nights were going. So they put our theater to the test, and everything I've heard, it turned out pretty well. So we were pretty pleased with that. Over 2,000 people came through just to see that one show. That was put on by Runaway Stage Productions, which is actually based out of Sacramento, and they were a renter of the facility for that one. We've also recently partnered with the River City, I guess it would be the drama class, and they held their final performances in our theater. They have one on site, but we thought it'd be fun for them to get off site and perform in a different theater. So we let them use the theater for a weekend where the kids got to come in and do a show. We've used the lights and sound and all the stuff we have over there. So that's kind of the theater. The art gallery, in the last year, basically when we started off, we've never operated an art gallery before, so we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. So we were going with artists every 2 months. That was kind of our policy, just to make sure we were getting the rotations down and we were having the interest we needed. Well, it turned out pretty fast that we had enough demand to drop that down to every month. So unless there's some kind of an issue where an artist backs out or the scheduling thing or something to that extent, then we're basically rotating our shows every 4 weeks, which is fabulous. And we've got interest all the way into next year, or through this year, I should say. We've featured everything from local, national, and somewhat international artists, and anything from watercolors, iPhoneography, if you've ever heard of that. Yeah, it's a real thing. iPhoneography. It was pretty cool, too. All of the work was created on an iPhone and then printed up and put on display, of course. Acrylic painting, oil painting, good old traditional photography, lots of mixed media, wheat paste, kind of street art stuff. We also work closely, too, with some of the children's groups in the area. So far, we've worked with the after-school programs, Kids Zone after-school programs, and also the Learning Ladder, which is in our building, to do kids art shows, so the kids get a chance to put their work in an actual art gallery and get the lights on it and all that good stuff. In fact, we'll be installing the Learning Ladder show. That's our preschool upstairs, Learning Ladder. Tomorrow, actually. It'll be going up tomorrow. It'll be up all next month. And then the other thing we work on, too, is leisure enrichment classes.
Say that again.
Leisure enrichment classes. Oh, sorry. So we try to get classes in the building that are arts related. In the past, we've had painting, drawing, acting, dancing, singing. We didn't get singing. I should have put that on there. Ballroom, salsa, belly dancing, a whole variety. Currently, right now, we have guitar, beginning guitar, and a couple of kids' dance classes. We're kind of in between instructors, if you will. We've spent the last year really focusing on events and getting people into the building on a large scale to gain exposure so people see what's going on in the building, because at first when we open the doors, we had a lot of these classes, but people just weren't signing up. 'Cause they just didn't, I guess we're guessing this because they didn't really know much. They didn't know the facility was there yet. They weren't looking at us to provide those services. Now that we've got some better exposure, people know that the building exists. We've got an arts focus. We're looking to add more instructors in the arts field. In fact, this morning I had a great conversation with the lady who's going to potentially be a mixed media painting, drawing, kids classes. I also have a hip hop and jazz dance instructor that's hopefully going to come through for us here soon. So we're making progress in the classes.
Crocker doing anything with kids this year?
The Crocker? Yeah, so no, they haven't done anything with us since their new facility opened. Yeah. It was a great relationship when it lasted, and we facilitated a need for them, which was a space when their facility was being remodeled. And when their space was finished, they have a brand new fancy facility, and of course they're going to do their classes there, and that's just kind of the way it went. So what we do have coming up classes-wise for kids specifically is our Young Actors Workshop. We ran that last year. It was taught by local actors from the West Acro Community Theater, and it will be again this year. Our numbers are already higher than they were last year. We haven't even started yet, so we're doing really well there. Some of the things coming up next year, or coming up in the coming year, we do have, like I said, the Young Actors Workshop. We have a dance recital put on by a local group coming up soon in the theater. We're going to be doing some family cinema nights where we actually transform this theater into a movie theater and show a movie on our big screen. Some more Zumba parties. We've got a Fire Fest concert. It's a local group that puts on. It's a multi-band, kind of an under 18 or 18 over PG kind of concert event for kids. It's pretty cool. We're working with the group Flying Monkey Productions to put on some shows later on in the year. More details for that later. But one of the neatest things probably that's happened recently is the West Sacramento Community Theater Group has, for whatever reasons, basically dissolved, or we're dissolving. When that was brought to our attention with the guidance of Bob Johnson, I guess he'd be our ex-director. I don't know. Interim ex-director.
Interim ex?
Yeah, it's complicated. We approached them, and we kind of had a meeting together, and we've decided to basically absorb the West Sacramento Community Theater as a program. So we have contracted on staff somebody with theater expertise, and her contract basically dictates that she'll be putting on 2 full performances each year, as well as the Young Actors Workshop and a talent show. So right now, that whole thing is just kind of evolving. We're working out the kinks.
Running that?
I'm sorry?
Who's running that?
Well, the person we have on that we have contracted is Cindy Schmidt, who was part of the West Sacramento Community Theater for many years in many capacities, from treasurer to president to director, producer.
I was on the founding board.
Yeah. Well, you probably know Cindy then.
I do.
And she's been really wonderful, and to get us involved into the arts, the acting community in town, which we kind of lacked because I'm not an actor, if you can't tell. So that's kind of actually it's a really exciting thing, because we have something now in-house where we can do some productions in-house, have some control over it. It's definitely a revenue positive thing potentially if the interest is there. There's no negative financially about it. She knows how to do things on a shoestring, and we have the facility, and you just put the two together, and it should be really wonderful. So we're really excited for that project to unfold more. In the year to come, we've got lots of interest in Gallery 1075. Keep an eye out just for occasional or monthly notices when we're doing the what do you call them? The art receptions. When we turn over the show, we usually do some sort of a reception for the artist.
Is that through City Lights, or how are people supposed to find out about that?
Yeah, we've kind of done it couple different ways. Highlights is one way. On our Facebook page is another way. For a long time, for quite a while, we're actually making postcards and handing them out to people, but there's a little bit of a cost associated with that, and it being a kind of a neutral gallery where we don't charge, we don't collect any money for the usage of it. We're looking to kind of slim that down a little bit. It is in our monthly newsletter that we send out. So if you've ever signed up for any of our programs, your email should be in our system. And if it's not, I'm happy to add it so you guys would get that newsletter. It would have any upcoming events in the.
Please do.
Okay.
So people at home that might be watching our fascinating show can go to the website or your Facebook page. What is the Facebook page?
If you just search City of West Sacramento Parks and Rec on Facebook, you'll find us.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the website, it'll be on our community center page, highlights, all those. And then we're just looking to further develop our classes more and get more children's classes, adult pro classes, evenings.
Senior classes.
Yeah, it's ever evolving and changing and adding, and yeah.
Scott, for coming to see us. Anybody
Yeah.
have any comment or questions? Commissioners? No. Yes? No? I think we're good. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Anybody have any commissioner calendars, stuff they need to do? Future item requests? Andre, I don't know if we still have pending existing art pieces and whether we were studying, I think there was, we were looking into their upkeep or maintenance, or somebody was going to come back and talk to us about that at one point.
Yeah, I think we're going to need to take a look at what we had on past agendas to see if there's something that's supposed to be being brought forward. I thought we were fairly well caught up on this, but we can do a double check just to make sure that we're not missing something.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Can you think of anything? I think we're good. Next meeting is when? September?
And we're looking September 30th,
Okay.
6 o'clock here, right? Okay.
Thank you. May I entertain a motion for adjournment? And a second? What, we have to vote on that, or can I just adjourn? All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned.